All right, so I record. All right, so Booboo and Robert, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about Those Who Walk Away. And just for the record, Booboo, my oldest daughter is one of your biggest fans because she loved the Descendants and all that. So she's a big fan. I told her I was talking to you today. She was like all excited about it. So
Please tell her I say hello. Please.
I will definitely. All right. So my first question's for Robert. How did this project come about?
The project came about really, I've always loved horror, and I was like, what's something kind of different and new and exceptionally challenging and that we could take on with this, and it was really to do a one-take film. And we also knew that we didn't want to kind of hold anything back, and we wanted to have kids in it, we wanted to have animals, I don't want to spoil anything, but we just wanted to pull out all stops. And I thought we had gone pretty far, and then brought Booboo on, and he was like, well, why don't we go farther?
That's awesome. Yeah. So what was your involvement in Booboo? How did it all start?
It started with my father, actually. Rob and my father had worked together many, many, many years ago. And I actually had met Rob when I was really a child, a young teenager, and he was an old teenager. And so, it started there. I think Rob had contacted my dad to come on and play a role, and also stunt coordinating the film. And it kind of stemmed from there, and I got the script from him. And I really loved what Rob and everybody had done with the script, and I just felt that we could just keep going and make something really, really crazy, and I feel like we kind of did.
And let me just say for the record, your dad's the man. I've seen him in so many things. I can't even describe it. And just recently, I showed my son the live action Fist of the North Star where he got the first fist, and he's just like, he was like, what is he? He goes, he's gonna say the line, but in English. He's like, you're already dead. And now that's the dude whose head exploded.
No way. That's some deep cuts right there. Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. So next, the one take thing, that's becoming a trend now in films. I'm really starting to notice. And you have this film, Scott Adkins did it with one shot. There's it's becoming the trend now. It's huge. What do you guys take on the one take films? Do you guys think it's going to keep going, or?
I would actually call it a genre. I think that just as all directors come in and they want to make a war film, they want to make a horror film, a fantasy film, that each director, I think, should also have a one-shot film. It really started with Rope with Hitchcock.
Mm-hmm.
We had started writing this actually before 1917 had come out, but another fantastic film by Sam Mendes. Mm-hmm. And I really see it's a different way of telling a story, but as a filmmaker, it's very challenging, but it's also very rewarding, and it has that sort of Linklater-esque feel of like Before Sunset, where you experience these characters in a new way, but it also kind of feels more organic.
That's awesome. What do you think, Boo? You think the one? I agree with you. Actually, I agree with you, Robert. I think it should be its own subgenre, like its own genre of film.
Indeed.
It doesn't matter whether it's a horror film or a fantasy film.
I agree. Yeah, the first one take film I had, when that was opened my eyes, that was Victoria.
Yeah.
I was just completely blown away. What am I watching right now? What in the world? And so that was that movie for me. And I agree. I think it should be a genre. It's such a challenge. The amount of weird body positions you got to be for everything. Just physically and remembering it. It's just such a challenge. Every little step, we had obstacles, many obstacles. But I think when you're doing something like a one take film, everybody brings it because they're all excited to try something new.
Exactly. And I recently just saw a Japanese one take film, and it was so crazy because it's basically about a cafe owner who finds out that his TV shows 2 minutes into the future, and this whole thing was done in one. Yeah, and it's
What
done in
movie
one
is it
take.
called?
It's called Beyond the Infinite in 2 minutes, and I think it just came out this week. He's writing it down.
Writing it down.
Yeah, I think it's on demand right now, but it's definitely worth checking out for sure. I was like, it was like 70 minutes long, but it's all one long take, and I was just like, I'm like, what am I watching here? It's just amazing.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
what was it like working with the other cast members? You spent a lot of time with Scarlett in the film, Booboo. What was that? What was it like working with her?
She's amazing. She cannot drive a car, but she's amazing. I love Scarlett so much.
I take it you almost got into an accident.
Many.
He'll tell you you can, but there's some like side driving, grabbing the wheel.
Were you holding the camera, Robert? Were you like scared for your life too?
I mean, that shot was so nuts because, essentially we have a camera that goes inside of the car. We had an operator over the sunroof reaching in
on the
grabbing
car
top handle, and
Probably
then
praying for his life. No.
yeah, and then a new operator picks it up from the back seat, and then the guy jumps off the top of the car, gets in our follow vehicle that Bill's driving, and then but also like, I mean, that's a huge testament to Scarlett and to Booboo, right? Is that there was so much going on around and so many specific cues to hit that, I mean, acting alone is hard, but also, while driving, while making sure everybody is kind of, clear of the car. I mean, there's a lot involved. And also I will add, with the one-shot nature of the film, we also decided to shoot during golden hour.
Yeah.
And so we really only had like 2.5 goes at it. Had to kind of call quits within the first like 5 minutes, or else we wouldn't get a full second take. But yeah, that really just meant like everybody had to be on. Like, there were no possibilities for mistakes, and everybody really came through and delivered.
And I gotta say this, Booboo, I mean, I've seen you in many things, but this is probably one of the best like performances you've done on an emotional level, because I've never seen you get so scared when you're like just walking down and you're just like, you're freaking out of everywhere. And then it comes down to a comical thing where you're sitting on the chair and you're watching basically the TV. And I swear to God, I was like, is he watching WandaVision or something? That's like, that's what it reminded me of. I thought of WandaVision right away. And it's just like, and then you just start cracking up like hysterically because you don't know how to, like, is this real? Is this not real? And it was just like, or are you just losing your mind because of everything that's going on? I mean, you just, by far, this is one of your like most emotionally charged performances, in my opinion.
Thank you. That's so much to do with like Rob. Like the connection we have, like working together, we created such a crazy bond that I've never experienced on a set before. And it was the tone he sets on set was so, he just is aware of everything, listens to everything, but also like charges through. And it's just you just get behind it and everybody's on board. And because of that, it allows me to feel like free enough to like try things and to, I don't know, his confidence honestly like made me feel confident that we'd get through all these one takes. Literally some of them were one take. Like that was it.
Oh, wow.
The really long driving scene all in the car and everything, that was one take. And I remember us all outside and Rob's like, okay, everybody bring it in. So here's the thing. Because the take is so long, we only have one. And I remember just like, obviously feeling slightly concerned, but not really, because I knew like I had so much confidence in everybody that was there, and that confidence was built on Rob's confidence. And but because of that, I feel like it just made everyone work at their top levels.
That's awesome. So Rob, did you allow the actors to like give them creative freedom just to go about it, or did you give them like a direction in terms of if you try it this way, or you just let them just do their own thing?
We did a lot of rehearsal, and also this was shot at the height of the pandemic. This was right when Batman got shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we did a lot of rehearsal over Zoom, and it's super important for me that the actors really like live and breathe, and that these words are their own. And so of course we did a lot of that. We did some improv, and throughout, definitely encourage a certain level of spontaneity within the confines of, well, the camera's got to get here and get there.
Mhm.
And we also did, which was a new technique of, we kind of did the lines at the beginning in kind of Italian. And so we would just race through. I mean, both Booboo and Scarlett, put a lot of work into it and just would race through the script as quickly as possible so that the lines became second nature. So that when we were out, doing blocking and doing rehearsal, we could really focus on the cues. But yeah, I mean, to follow on what Booboo was saying, I mean, certainly the first day was the most challenging. I mean, we had an opening shot with probably 30 extras, and the camera moves from one to the next, and then there's a police car, and then it's on Booboo, and then I mean, just so much going on, and that first full take is a full 15 minutes.
Wow.
And there you may look at the film and see like, oh, there's a lot of cuts. There's really not. There's really not.
No, I didn't. You could barely see them. It
Yeah.
did look like it's one long entire film. Like you could really like,
Yeah.
there's. It reminds me of the movie Bushwick, which came out a few years ago. It was done in 10-minute long takes.
Yeah.
So it's like 10 minutes, 10-minute take, and then it would cut to the next scene, another 10-minute take. But I didn't notice it in this. I literally thought it was like one entire long shot.
And
So,
Rob was so adamant on like, I remember there's one part when I go into the house, and this was not actually a cut. Like it would actually was still, the take was still going on, but because the screen went dark, he was like, people are going to think that's a cut. We cannot. And so like literally I have a cell phone light and I have to like shine it into the camera so everybody knows it's still going. But like totally, because it's like, we actually did not cut there, and people were like, oh, that's where they cut. They just, black.
Yeah.
No, like literally still one take from the car going into the house, like everything. We were still going hard. Like,
hey man, that's dedication right there. But then that's cool. That's the smart move, doing the light thing. So it's like, yeah, we're still doing it. It's not. Sorry, guys.
It's not happening.
I gotta say also, props has to go out to Bryson John Steele as Rudy, because he was such a great counterpart for you.
Yeah.
And that
Agreed.
scene where he's on the bed and all of a sudden his skin just turns gray and you're calling his name, and it gave me goosebumps. I'm not gonna lie, it kind of gave me goosebumps. I was freaking out, but kudos goes to him. That kid was amazing in the film. What was it like working with him?
He was amazing. So impressive. I think Rob and I were both so nervous. The scene when I first meet him was the most nervous I'd been for a scene, like in our film. I don't know why, like in rehearsals, because of the computer, and he's a child, he can't really get that connection. And when we did it, it just worked. He was so great on cues, and because I mean, like Rob was saying, something that makes it difficult is when you have like children or animals. It's just like,
You're worried that you might star him for life.
Well, and they might miss a cue, and I might have scarred him for life. Honestly, I was shoving him through a door very hard at one point.
I don't know. I think he would have scarred me for life, considering that one scene where he's just like Rudy, and he's like like that would have scarred me for life, not the other way around.
I mean, that was another good example of where we only had one shot of that, right? Because once, I mean, the other tricky thing is that we only have a limited amount of hours, to shoot with younger actors, and so, but yeah, I mean, Bryson was phenomenal. He's an adult, in a kid's body, but he brings his own ideas, and he's extremely hardworking. And it was funny because I think for others it was like, well, it's tricky, working with a kid. But I think all of us, once we met him, it was like, he's the least concern of the film, right? Like, I'm more concerned about like, is the blood going to fall down the wall? Let's talk about those things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just it really speaks to like having great people around you. And I agree with you about that performance in that room. I think it's one of the most spectacular performances I've seen in a movie. It's a scene that I put together, but that was all on Booboo's shoulders, and just I've never worked with a harder working actor than Booboo. I mean, just counting the amount of cues, like hand here, this, out of pocket, like just an astronomical amount to memorize and to go through, and it just looked as easy as can be, but it was a result of really a lot of hard work and just how professional and a phenomenal actor Booboo is.
Yeah, definitely. I have to agree with that. He's definitely a great actor.
Guys, I'm sitting right here.
Yeah, well,
I'm sitting right here.
that's the whole point. That is the whole point. You're
Yeah.
sitting right there.
Yeah. All right, now I'm gonna collect my $10 from your
Yeah,
dad.
yeah. You can Venmo me later, Rob.
Yeah, I'll make sure to put that on my blog next time. Okay.
Yeah.
But so it was at the height of pandemic. How long did shooting actually take? 'Cause I know like was it just a one day, or was it like, well, you said the first day was challenging, so how long did shooting actually take?
So we rehearsed for about a month, and that was all through Zoom. And then on location, we spent about a week, and we basically rehearsed every single day. It was just, we wanted it to be really private, so it was just our DP, Diego Cordero, who's phenomenal, and also was the operator, holding a camera for 15 minutes, and just really phenomenal. So it was just the actors, it was just Diego, and then interestingly, we, instead of a first AD, we hired a show caller because we really needed cues called all throughout. Not necessarily a schedule of like, we only have one shot per day, so.
Yeah.
And so the shoot itself was 8 days. And we had sort of built in a little bit of buffer if we needed to, shoot another day. But we ultimately, didn't need it. We were able to make every single day, and so 8 days, about 15 minutes, per day.
Awesome. Well, overall, it's a great movie. I mean, like I said, I was stunned by it. I think everyone needs to check it out. I think everyone needs to start checking out these one take films, that people are like, oh, and I know there's going to be those who are going to say, oh, let's look for the cuts. Let's look for the cuts. I'm just telling everyone, don't do that. Don't ruin it.
It's like a magic show.
Just don't look for it. Just look out for the cell phone light, though.
Yeah, exactly. You know that the scene is still going.
I mean, the other two, and this was a testament of Booboo coming in and being like, let's like crank it up, and we've collaborated so well together. We're actually working on a writing project right now as well. But there's a scene where stuff is being thrown all over the room. And then we move into a POV shot where Booboo's hands are around the operator.
Yeah.
And he gets hit with a baseball bat and falls down. There's no cut. There's a lot of whips, but in that entire sequence, there are 0 cuts. I mean, all that was real.
That's awesome.
It was an amazing idea that Booboo had of like having that POV, and just phenomenal that Diego was able to pull it off, technically. It was, and also if you think about, just as a camera operator, as a DP, like you can't cast shadows on any walls, right? Like light,
so many things.
So many pieces.
So that does pique my interest too, because usually we have the stunt coordinator would be there too for the action shots, and so how did your dad get involved with that part of the film?
Yeah, so he would set everything up beforehand, right? And then he would make sure everything's safe, obviously, and we'd rehearse it through, because we did a lot of rehearsing. And and I also think part of it was a lot of trust in, he knew that I was capable of doing a lot of the stuff. So I didn't feel like we'd have to throw in any like doubles or anything like that. And just a lot of like just making sure everything was thought out, and making sure that no one was going to be in any line of any danger, essentially, and then just letting it play out like how we were doing the rest of the film. There's a lot of trust in everybody. Everybody really had to have like a certain amount of just willingness to let go a little bit, because if you're like 10 minutes into a scene and something goes not perfect, you have to keep going, so there's a lot of like trusting that we all were capable of being safe and making it work.
That's a good thing, because I know in the age of Hollywood, there's going to be those bad people, those bad apples who are, they act all divish, but obviously, despite the challenges, you all pulled through, and that's what made the film work.
Gosh, I can't imagine if we had one actor who was or somebody, like it was great. Like Diego, like just to throw his name out there again, like what a champion. I remember there's one, like we're trying to get the camera to like do crazy moves, and the rig we needed didn't show up. And so we're all standing outside, and we're all standing there like trying to figure out. Rob has this crazy idea with some like house thing to put the like just houseware item to like do this idea, and then Rob's like, what if you just like spin around, like, and so like in mid take I look at Diego, he has a camera, he's literally like just doing crazy things with the camera, just the amount of like he was in 1,000%. He was sweating every day. He probably lost so much weight doing it. Those who lose weight while making those who lost the weight.
That's funny you mentioned the whole using of the house things. I mean, that's like Robert turning to MacGyver there for a second there.
Literally. No, I'm so many things like we're like, oh, how are we doing that? Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and another big name to point out is Sonia Fultar as our production designer. I mean, that house we went into, and it was vacant, had been vacant for like 20 years. And, a lot of people who've seen the film are like, did you build sets? Like, because we really made everything of every single room. And we really wanted each room to feel, like you're going into the mind of kind of what it is to be touched by rock creep. And yeah, I mean, just phenomenal in terms of what she was able to put together, and it was a
small team too.
Small team indeed. Yeah,
I think that's great because that you used a vacant house, because it makes it more authentic rather than building a set. Because building a set, you could you're worried about if something falls out, or but using that authenticity, that even makes it even better for this type of genre.
We felt so too.
Yeah. All right. So finally, what's next for both of you? I know you just mentioned you're both working on a writing project, but do each of you have a new film, new project that you can talk about? We'll start with Rob. Yeah, we'll start with Rob.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things in the works, that'll be announced soon. New directing project, and I'm producing a film about Leonardo da Vinci that is in the works called The Inventor. Doing a documentary with George Clooney about information warfare. And then Booboo and I are working on this project that I'm most excited about. We'll leave the name out for now, but hopefully announce it.
Yeah, we'll hear it down the road.
Indeed.
Well, yeah, no, we've been writing this project for a hot second. It's been going so great, and it's constantly getting better every time we are in the seat. And so very excited for that. And I've been working on a TV show for the past few months. I cannot say what it is yet because I haven't announced it. But
that's all right. That's okay.
It's an existing show
we're just glad to see you again. That's all. Basically, we're just happy to see you again. But everyone needs to check out Those Who Walk Away. It'll be out on February 11th, and this is a great oneer film. I'm calling it the oneer because that's what it is. It's a oneer. It's not just a winner, a oneer.
Well, thank you.
And Booboo, this is one of his best performances in my opinion. Emotionally charged, and guys, you're amazing to talk to, and we definitely will need to talk again about some of your future projects down the road.
Certainly. Well, yeah, thanks for having us, and thanks for the time, and thanks for the kind words about the film.
Thank you.
All right, you guys take care, and Booboo, I will tell my daughter that you said hi.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see her reaction. But you guys take care and stay safe.
All right, take care. Thanks so much.
All right, bye-bye.